This video accompanies the pattern for this sweater, and you can see that I'm still in the process of doing finishing on this. The seams aren't all done. But it discusses how to work the collar. Now, notice that this collar is a very deep shawl collar. And when you're doing a collar of this sort, you want the back of the collar to be wider than this portion right here. That's so it can fold over. And with a shawl collar, you want to exaggerate that. Now, typically what you do, or you can do, is you can use short rows. You can pick up all the stitches from here to over here, or rather from over here to here. And then when you get to the back, you can work short rows to make sure that it's longer. But what I chose to do instead is to pick up stitches starting about right there, about 5 inches. And I picked up stitches along the front, over the back, and to the same location on the front. And then what I did is I worked the first row, worked the first row, and when I got back to where I started, I picked up 3 stitches. I then turned, worked back to where I last knit, picked up 3 stitches, turned, and so on. It takes a 1/2 dozen with the method for this, but unlike short rows, you don't need to worry when you work the short rows about leaving holes. There are no holes to be worked. And when you pick up these stitches, you use exactly the same rules you would for picking up regular stitches. The ratio that I used was on this one is I picked up 3 stitches and then skipped a row. So I would pick up my 3 stitches, then I would skip 2 bars, and so on. I initially did a video showing this on this sweater, and it was so confusing because it was dark and it was big that I decided to show the actual technique on a swatch. And it just is easier to see when you're looking at white yarn and a little tiny piece. So we're going to pretend that this is the back of the neck, or the front. This is the front of the sweater, this is the back, this is the front. And I'm just going to pick up 3 stitches. But on this one it would be, I don't know, however many stitches it takes. And I'm just going to pick them up, pick them up, pick them up, and now it's time to turn. I turn, and I work these in the stitch pattern that I want it to be. And the stitch pattern for this is knit 1, purl 1. So I'm going to do knit, purl, knit. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up 3 stitches. And because I'm working on the back of my work, I'm going to have the yarn in the front, and I'm just going to reach over and I'm going to do purl, do 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now instead of having 3 stitches, I've got 6 stitches. And I'm going to make sure that I can fit this into pattern. Purl, knit, purl, knit. So I'm going to knit this one. And I'm going to work the last stitch, and now I pick up 3 more stitches. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to do 1 or 2 more of these just so you see how it's going to shape up. And again, I'm going to check my pattern. So purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. Now purl. You want to continue on in the pattern. And this would be the equivalent of working a short row every 3 stitches. But I just kind of like the way this looks, and I wanted to do something different. Okay, so now I've got my yarn in front. And pick up 3 more stitches. 1, 2. Oh, wait a second. What I was going to show you is, in order to keep in my ratio, after I work those 3, I'm going to skip those 2. That's what I was going to do. Now, your ratio may be different. You need to figure that out. But it seemed to work for me. And so then again, I just work the pattern. Again, knit, purl, knit, purl. Yeah, I'm just going to work to the end of the row. And I would use my ratio that I've determined is going to work. And I'd skip 2 bars, 1, 2, go right there. And that's how it'd work. And you can see that this is going to give you an effect like short rows.